Lesson 1. Meditation scientifically explained. Meditation is the most important of all the functions of human life that further human development. Little is known about the nature of meditation, even by the world's greatest geniuses, who constantly practice it without being fully aware or cognizant of the nature of the meditative process. Therefore, it is necessary to define and explicate the spiritual function so that everyone can knowingly practice the life-transforming art and science of meditation. Through meditation, one can command one's achievements to be masterly, one's body to be perfect, and one's life to be full to overflowing. Through the practice of meditation, one can become whatever one wishes to become. Working knowingly with God. Meditation is communing with God for the purpose of working knowingly with God. You all know that this is the way I work. Because of it, I have been able to do, in a masterly manner, 10 times the amount of work than I could otherwise have accomplished. When I know that God's thinking and mine are one and I am consciously aware of His presence at every working moment, consciously feeling my hands to be His hands, my work could not be other than masterly. To constantly work knowingly with God, never ceasing, is to be constantly inspired with the ecstasy of His nature. I have felt this way since I was a child. For example, I felt His presence with me at the piano. The musical rhythms that flowed from my soul were interpretations of His rhythmic thinking as they became my thinking. God was my teacher. I needed no other. He was always with me in my soul and lifted me to great heights even in my early days. All throughout my life, I have walked and talked and worked knowingly with God. Every year in May, He took me up to a high mountain for a few days alone with Him and His light to illumine my path for the years ahead, which He had planned for me with me. For I had always dimly known the years ahead for me, which were clarified so amazingly in 1921, when I interpreted the message of the divine Iliad for the dawning age of cosmic humanity. Knowing that I must demonstrate through my own life that which I must teach to other people, my one desire through life has been to live life worthily in order to manifest the power in me that God gives to every human being for the asking and to immunize myself from all that is unlovely in order to create with Him that beauty of balanced rhythmic thinking which is His universe. The time has now come for me to share with you who desire to unfold your own omniscience how to find that zero of stillness in His light, which will illumine your way to your own mountain top. The first step. To meditate with God. First forget your body and stop thinking about anything. Decentrate to the zero of stillness. Become a vacuum insofar as your senses are concerned. Desire the light. If you could express it in words, let that expression have a meaning but without words. Let it be more like a realization, as though you said in words from the message of the divine Iliad, "The glory of thy anointing light is upon me. I am in the Spirit. Thy light is all about me. It encompasses me. It shines through me. I am dissolved in thy light. Thy light is my light. I am immersed in my light. I am in thy light, knowing thy light. Be thou me, that I may not be myself alone." Meditation defined. Meditation is the unfolding process of one's desire to know God and to manifest God awareness or cosmic consciousness by extending knowing, through thinking, to the production of material bodies created in the image of inspired conceiving. I might put it more simply by saying, meditation is a desire to be alone with God, to talk with Him. Meditation is really a conference between your soul and the universal soul. To be one with God means to desire His knowledge and power. God's mind is your mind. Therefore, you have all knowledge and power that God has to the extent of your awareness of God centering you within. If God's knowledge is asleep in you, it must be awakened in order that you may be aware of it. When you are aware of that inner knowledge, you can use it, for then the entirety of universal law works within for you at your command. To the extent of your awareness of inner cosmic knowing, and to that extent only, you may use universal power to think your knowing into material forms. Your knowing is your mind self. Your mind self is you, the eternal being. Yourself is not your body, nor is your knowing in your brain, but your mind controls your body and your brain as one process. Your mind thinks with and through your brain, as a lever works upon its fulcrum, for your brain is the instrument for fulfilling the commands that your mind extends to it. Your brain records memories, experiences, and information electrically, but it is the will of your mind that orders your brain to follow its commands. The measure of your cosmic knowing is the measure of yourself in God awareness. It is the measure of your ability to dwell in the light of all-knowing and to command the thought universe of creation with God, as co-creator with God. Thinking what you know into imagined forms is expressing your eternal self in the invisible universe of mind. Giving formed bodies to imagined thought forms, by following your thoughts with actions, is expressing your eternal self in the visible universe of matter. That is all that God does, for He controls His electric body as its absolute master. He keeps all of its interactions and interchangings in absolute balance, for God is eternally creating His body in the image of His desiring. You can do likewise, if you so desire, only by working knowingly with God. In the measure of your awareness of God within, you can be the master of your body and keep it in balance, instead of continually unbalancing it in diverse ways from morning until night and from night until morning, wearing it out with tensions, strains, fears, worries, and various emotions that destroy your body with poisonous toxins. What you know, you think. What you think, you become. Mind and matter. Much confusion exists regarding mind, matter, and their relationship. Let us clarify these concepts. Mind is spiritual and constitutes the invisible universe of cause. Matter is physical and constitutes the visible universe of effect. Mind has but one idea, the idea of creation as a whole. Mind has but one desire, the desire to give creative expression to the one whole idea. Mind expresses its desire electrically by thinking and imagining. Matter is the expression of mind's whole creative idea through mind's electric thinking and imagining, which is sensed or experienced of itself. Creating bodies, God is mind, cosmic mind. God's thinking and imagining mind creates a body to manifest His idea. That body is the electric wave universe as a whole. It is God's one idea divided by His thinking and imagining into countless millions of ideas, each having a differently formed body but all manifesting the one by being extensions of one another. There is nothing in this vast universe but moving bodies extending from the stillness of the cosmic light of mind, which centers the thinking of God. All formed bodies are made in the image of God and extended from mind imaginings in order to manifest God. Creation is mind imagined forms electrically extended into electrically formed bodies fashioned in the images of their imaginers. The universe is one mind, one soul, and one body, seemingly divided into many minds, many souls, and many bodies. There are no two separate or separable things in the universe. All things are extensions of each other and of the one. The human mind and the mind of God can know their oneness in meditation in order that human creations can have the balanced rhythms, the symmetry, and the stability of God's creations. God thinks thought forms of ideas and gives them formed bodies from His body and souls from His soul. God thinks man and the body of man appears in the image of God's imagining. Man thinks his creation and the body of his creation appears in the image of man's imagining. All formed bodies appear as separate ideas, all extended from the one and from each other. This is what you do. You think thought forms of ideas and give them formed bodies from the universal body and soul from the universal soul. The engineer conceives the image of a bridge and the formed body of the bridge appears in the image of the engineer's imagining. Likewise, the musician thinks music in the silence of his imagining and the formed body of the music appears in sound extending from the silence. You and all people are likewise thinking imaged forms of multiple things and giving them formed bodies in the image of your imaginings. Awaken your own genius. There is nothing the greatest genius in the world can do that you cannot do. You both have the same inheritance. The only reason why you may not have given evidence of your genius is because you have not yet been aware of it. In other words, you have not yet discovered yourself. The greatest miracle that can happen to you is that wonderful discovery of yourself, the divine power that lies within yourself, and the unlimited knowledge that you are, which you could never acquire from books or universities in 1,000 years. One of the reasons you may not yet have made that marvelous discovery is because meditation is still new to the human race. One by one, people are discovering meditation, as they begin to hear the inner voice of the Spirit that is forever calling within the souls of all humanity. When you are too busy with material things to have time to listen to that voice, you become chained to emotions of your body and to the demands of material things. You are enslaved by them. The moment you begin to listen to your inner voice, that moment you become freed from slavery to body. The high heavens of God's omnipotent and omniscient universe then become your dwelling place. Meditation began when thinking began, at the dawn of consciousness in the human race. Until the dawn of consciousness, human beings were ruled by their senses and their instincts. As soon as they begin to think and know, they begin to suspect a superior being. Worship then began, sun worship, idol worship, and finally the inner voice of thinking people led them to the spiritual idea of many gods, then to one God. Through the centuries of meditation or communion between the physical senses of human beings and their spiritual inspiration, the genius of some unfolded beyond that of others. During several ages of humanity, this gradual unfolding has been taking place, until now a new stage of the human race is unfolding, which is the dawn of the cosmic age. Humanity in general is not yet ready for cosmic knowing, but many thousands are ready for this new knowledge of the invisible universe of thinking mind. It may be that there are even a few millions who are ready to become the seed of the new race of cosmic humanity. The test for ascertaining the average number of those who are ready for this higher step upward in the unfolding of the idea of humanity is not a religious but a cultural one. In New York City, for example, about 7,000 out of 8 million people love the higher, inspirational, rhythmic creations of the world's great geniuses, who interpret the heartbeat of nature for the souls of humanity. The same few shun noisy crowds and raucous entertainment, which distress them acutely. They choose to seek aloneness in the forest or at the ocean's shore, where they can hear nature's silent whisperings and rhythmic sounds within their very souls. To the rest of the 8 million people, the silent whisperings of nature have no meaning other than boredom. If these are to be found at the ocean's shore, it will be where boardwalks and blatant noise vibrate the senses of their bodies pleasantly for the excitement of their senses. These people still live a sensed existence, with body awareness controlling their lives. The dawn of consciousness has not yet illumined them with the light that still awaits their soul's awakening. Those illumined ones who are now ready to open the doors of their souls far wider for the light to further illumine them will uplift the whole human race to higher standards. Knowing, conceiving, thinking idea. Cosmic creation is one whole idea of cosmic mind. This one whole idea constitutes what cosmic mind knows. Cosmic mind thinks this one whole idea, that which it knows, into countless whole parts of countless different forms. In other words, God's thinking takes God's knowing apart into seemingly separate whole ideas, each one of which is given its separate and distinct form. This is also exactly what you do. You may have all of God's knowing if you become fully illumined with it, but in each communion with God you get a little more of it each time your soul touches the universal soul. You then take that inspired idea apart and think it into objective form. You always receive that which you ask for if you ask for it with your soul instead of your senses. If you ask for it in words alone, you will not receive what you ask for, because you have not asked God for it, you have but asked your senses. When, however, you have actually written your desire into your heartbeat, as I have always done from moment to moment throughout all my life, you unfailingly acquire the knowledge for which you ask. That knowledge comes to you in a timeless flash in the language of light, which God uses to talk to you and me when we wish to talk with Him. Having thus acquired the part of the one whole idea for which you have asked in your heart, you then think or imagine your idea into the form of a concept. At first, this conceptual form may be misty or nebulous. Do not act upon it while it is still nebulous. Decentrate to the zero of the light and concentrate, repeating this rhythmic interchange over and over again. Each time you concentrate, you see more clearly the image of your idea in your inspired imaginings. So long as the concept is still an embryo, do not give it birth into the objective universe of form and motion. Dwell upon it until it becomes as clear to your inner vision as the body you give it will become clear to your outer vision. If it is an invention, meditate upon it until you clearly see it. Do not waste time experimenting. See it completed mentally in its embryonic form before you spend time on it physically. Otherwise it will be immature. If it is a sale of something, before approaching your client, assemble all of its elements together until you can envision it clearly. If it is a motif for a symphony, before you give it a body, hear it completely in the silence of your soul. No matter what your desire is, before you give it a physical form, take it to God for a spiritual form. Always consciously seek that zero of stillness in the light before starting to think or act. When you finally act to give your concept a physical form, keep your soul attuned to the universal soul. Hold fast to that ecstasy of inner joyousness that comes from working knowingly with God. Your creation will be finished in much less time and you will know no fatigue. Talk to God constantly in His wordless, rhythmic language of light. The moment you find yourself working alone with your own ego, stop working, for the emotions of your sensed body are making you aware of it and your work will not be enduring without the light of your soul in it. Physical emotions immediately smother spiritual inspirations. Creating forms. You can know an idea timelessly, all of it, but to think it into objective form is to take it apart for extension into the three-dimensional universe of time and space. To thus think it, you divide and multiply it into many conditioned material forms and set them in motion to become a part of this physical universe of multi-conditioned moving forms. This creative process requires a technique, but knowledge and inspiration require no technique. Always remember that God is creating His universe by giving body forms to mind imagined forms. Likewise, you are creating your universe by giving objective body forms to your imagined forms. You must, however, conceive the idea for those forms before you begin to build them into your imaginings. Then you must imagine them fully before giving them objective form. When your imagined idea is sufficiently clear, start creating it, whether you know its technique or not. Learn the technique in the doing. Always remember that a technique is something that your body acquires and that anybody can acquire any technique. Knowledge and inspiration you do not acquire. You already have them. All you need to do is to awaken them from within. To awaken knowledge and inspiration, all you need is the desire to awaken them. When you have the desire and let God know it, you will begin to know the glorious language of light that is your being. Inspiration then arises within you. Your desire is fulfilled through the knowing that is inspiration. The language of light is wordless, but it is the essence of meaning. You can transcribe the language of light into words, for that is but a technique. Likewise, whatever form you wish to give to your inspired idea through acquiring technique, you, yourself, can translate the essence of that language of light into form through any medium. Your body does this by acting solely with your will. Through your will, you command your body to express your desire. Your body, though it is a living organism, can be compared to a machine that must be controlled by your will. It must be trained by your will to fulfill every technique of expression. It may take years to train your body to automatically follow your will. For example, it takes years of practice for a body to become a perfect musical instrument or an instrument that paints, sculpts, or writes with tools that are but extensions of a body. Recorded idea. Your conception of an idea has the same relation to that idea as the seed of an oak has to the full-grown oak. Your imagining is recorded in your very soul, and from the stillness of your soul the idea extends into form as the form of the oak extends from the stillness of its formless seed. The inner joyousness of conceiving an idea and of imagining its form uplifts you as much as would its created extension. This inner creativity is purposeful even if it only uplifts yourself. However, to be purposeful for the world, you must give your inspired imaginings a formed body that responds to the senses of your fellow human beings. It is through this action-reaction of giving your concept a material body that you make it a masterpiece by extending your soul into it through moment-to-moment communion with God to give love to your creation. If you do not extend love from your soul to your product, you do not give it life. Not having life or love given to it, the product cannot re-give life or love to inspire others. It is already dead and soon will be buried in the trash basket of dead things. A masterpiece of any product whatsoever is that to which the life and love of the Creator's soul has been extended, to be reflected from soul to soul. Inner seeing and hearing. There is an indescribable glory all along the road that leads from your active thinking to the stillness of deep meditation. If you cannot actually go to the forest or sea to commune with God, go there in your imagination. If some problem demands your thoughts, let the imagined tones of the sea drown them out. If you imagine the sea and hear the rhythms of its waves pounding upon the shores as echoes of the heartbeat of the universe resounding within you, or if you hear the breezes whispering in the pines with your inner ears, the glory of that ecstasy will soon drown out dross thoughts. Meditation transports you from the material world of sensing to the cosmic world of knowing. Meditation transports you from the world of blatant sounds, which sear the senses, to the world of rhythmic silences, which is without material body, the world of the soul and the seed of things unborn that await their birth through you. Meditation is your transcension from tensions and strains of your emotions to the joy and ecstasy of your soul. Earth music is melodic and chains you to earth. The music of the spheres, which you hear with inner ears, is deeply tonal, not melodic. The rhythms and tones of nature's music, which sing its octaves in the language of light, have always within them the pulsing rhythms of the universal heartbeat, always the 1-2-1-2 pulsing of the Father-Mother heartbeat of the forms of things that manifest the Father-Mother pulsing rhythms of the soul's high heavens. Always in your deep meditation, the music of the silences from which sounds of earth spring is like the aftermath of the great symphonies by cosmic masters, which have refolded from sounds of earth, which your ears have heard, into your very soul, which still hears them in the pulse beat of your imagining. Never will you hear the 1-2-3 of waltz rhythm in the soul's high heavens, for that syncopation brings you quickly back to earth and to awareness of your body, emotions and senses. That 1-2-3 rhythm makes you want to dance. To those whose desires are deeply rooted to the senses of earth, the silences of the high heavens are but a deep void, and as though they were not. Even of such a person it may not be said that he is without soul, but only that the light of his soul is dimmed or asleep. He himself can awaken it if he listens long enough and often enough to the rhythms of the soul's high heavens to awaken recognition of the light that is within all people. The story is told that it is in this manner that Diamond Jim Brady accidentally awakened his sleeping inner self. He bought an automatic piano and many jazz and foxtrot records for his worldly friends and ordered many classic records for his highbrow friends, of whom he had many. While playing these classic records, he recognized within himself the glory of the universal heartbeat rhythms. It is said that he listened to those records alone for hours, until he became completely transformed culturally. I am in no way suggesting to you that you should not listen to the music which excites body emotions, for they are good when properly divided between the rhythms of earth and the rhythms of heaven. We need to live gloriously on earth as well as in the high heavens. However, to live the rhythms of earth alone is to be but clay of earth, chained to earth as a slave of earth, never soaring into the high heavens of the light of your immortality. Mortality is a prison cell from which you can escape only upon the wings of your immortality.